Welcome back to Craig's Vault, everybody. Glad you're here with us. We are in lesson 2 of How to Know a Person by David Brooks. This is our How to Know a Person series based on David Brooks' book. I want to talk a little bit about where this falls into our website hierarchy. So this is what I call drills together, okay? Brain drills together. Most of what we've covered so far has been physical drills, which are, physical workouts, usually at the gym. Then we've had a whole bunch of what I call brain drills solo. Those are things you can do by yourself. That's been Mind Gym, the New York Times Spelling Bee with the NBAC protocol. Things like The Hero's Journey with Joseph Campbell. Things like looking at, the Stoic Wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. Those are all things you can pretty much do just by yourself. But as you know, longevity, a huge part of longevity depends upon our social circle. There have been tons of studies of this. And one of the number one indicators of how long we're going to live and how happy we're going to be isn't just, how's our biceps doing? Isn't just, can I remember, a 3-back series of memory things? It's how's my social circle? So brain drills together, that's where this falls in. And I picked this book initially because I think it is fantastic. Okay, so the book is David Brooks, How to Know a Person. This is my copy. As you know, I try to mark up my books with a highlighter. I try and write a lot of notes. I write things as I go along, and then later on I don't totally rewrite the notes, but I rewrite sort of a 500-foot overview of the notes. It just really helps me study. So this is all about the art of being seen and seeing others deeply. And it is an art. It's a skill that we can develop over time, but it's not just like an equation. It's a whole bunch of other things that come into this. So we've got several lessons on this. I'm really excited. Of course, our roadmap is always track, adjust, own. We want you to keep, that is the template that we use all throughout Craig's Vault for everything. So let's dive in. So we're looking here at chapter 4, what Brooks calls the power of accompaniment. And he talks about being lingerable in daily life. So walking along somebody without trying to fix them or manage them or rush them, that's accompaniment. This lingerable quality is something that I can do when I think about it, but I don't always think about it. It's being the kind of person others just want to hang around with. Okay, they want to linger around with you, and hopefully you want to linger around with them. So here's a quote from page 52. Finally, a person good at accompaniment understands the art of presence. What a great phrase. The art of presence. Presence is about showing up. If you read through this book and you highlight things and take your time as you read through it, you are going to find tons and tons and tons of quotes like this that they just hit home, and they also show where I can improve a little bit in my art of being present. So he talks about listening as a high energy cognitive drill. Okay, now I put that part in about cognitive drill, but this comes from his chapter 6. Brooks talks about when another person is talking, you want to be listening so actively that you're practically burning calories. Wow. If I could be that kind of a listener all the time, I would be so happy. But folks, I'm not. I'm just not. I don't always have the presence. I don't always have that lingering quality. So what I need to do is I need to focus on put away the phone, put down the phone, pull out the earbud out of my phone, put away the distractions, okay? Lean in. Nod as the person is talking. Try to stay in the same time space as they are. Don't try to formulate an answer while they're still talking about their narrative. Okay, those are things I do. And then, little verbal cues can be very helpful. They don't have to be long comments on what the other person, I have found, they don't have to be long comments. They can just be, hey, tell me a little bit more about that, or that must have been hard, or whatever. Just you can just add in little bits of your responses, but they don't have to be judgy. You're not really making a statement to them. You're just asking them to keep telling me more. So 30% of the people are natural questioners, people who instantly direct curiosity toward others. Well, that means 70% of us aren't. So we're passive conversationalists. We're maybe charming, but we don't ask a lot of questions. People are a lot more eager to have deep conversations than you think. Brooks writes that in the book. So one of the things we can do is asking open questions. These are some of the keys to unlocking meaningful conversations. Avoid closed questions. So use open questions. Closed or yes/no questions. Instead of, did you enjoy your trip? Yeah. What was the highlight of your trip? So forming it as an open-ended question forces that person to think a little bit more about their trip. And it's not like you gave them a multiple choice. You gave them a totally open-ended, it's like an essay question, right? They're going to have to come up with and think a little bit about and reflect about their trip. So open-ended questions are very, very, very powerful. The other thing is, he talks a lot about using story-inviting classics. And some of these questions you can use again and again and again, like, where did you grow up? What was that like? How did you end up in your line of work? How long have you lived here? That's a question I ask a lot of times of people that I'm just meeting. How long have you lived here? Or what brought you here? So, and then follow up with curiosity. A lot of times, if you structure this right, you can ask that question that sets them up for the open-ended question. Then you can draw them out with some more very short questions that are still open-ended that don't force them into a yes or no answer. So these are skills this is why it's an art, the art of seeing other people, right? So a little scorecard. Here's what illuminators do. We talked about the difference between illuminators and diminishers in our first lesson. Brooks talks about that very early in the book. But we want to be an illuminator, not a diminisher. We want to be an adding on to people's lives and not taking away. So some of the things illuminators do, they practice loud listening with energy and presence. The diminisher, passively nodding while, checking my phone, looking at my watch. Those are things we do as passive listening instead of active listening. So ask open-ended questions that invite stories. Don't ask closed-ended questions just to get the conversation directed to you. Oops. Sorry, guys. I'm having a problem there. Okay. Field manual action for this lesson 2. Step 1, catch yourself when you're just doing passive listening. Okay? This week, notice a conversation where you catch yourself being distracted while you're listening to somebody else. Step 2, in the next conversation, or maybe right then during that conversation, if you catch yourself, put down the phone, give that person 100% active presence. And then step 3, maybe you can't do it right in that conversation that you're having right now, but put a mental note in your mind later in the week or later that day, ask an open-ended question when you're in a conversation with somebody. So again, the book is How to Know a Person, David Brooks. I love this book. I think I first read it, I know it was in 2024. I put it aside for a good chunk of 2025, but I knew in the back of my mind, this was going to be one of those books that was going to be foundational for Craig's Vault. So go out and get your copy, mark it up, highlight it. I highly recommend it. Please remember to keep tracking, adjusting, and owning your fitness journey, your cognitive health journey, everything you've got with your spiritual clarity. Keep adding this stuff on. You've got this. I know you do. And lastly, we've got the field manual right here for lesson 2. Every one of our field manuals is unique. Each one is about a 5-page PDF with little reminders of things you can do. It's just a little bit of like a Cliff's Notes for this lesson. And it's a nice companion to the book as well. I would definitely recommend you go out and get the book though. Like we've got a little, check-in worksheet here on section 4. Oops, sorry, I grabbed the one for lesson 1, but all these are different. So anyway, as always, I believe in you.